everyone. Story time again. This time we are going to read a story called as Sailing Home. It's written by Subhadra Sen Gupta. Let's get started. So, Basava and his sister Sundari sat on the sand watching the sun rise over the sea. Slowly the sky turned from grey to blue and the edges of the clouds became an orange color. They sat staring at the horizon, that line in the distance where the bowl of the sky seemed to curve down to meet the sea. Their father was a sailor who had sailed away on a merchant ship many months ago. The children were eagerly waiting for him to come back home. So, every morning at sunrise, they came and waited by the beach, hoping to see the tall sails of their father's ship rise slowly above the horizon. The children had seen many ships come and go because they lived in Mamallapuram, which was a busy port. The ships came from many distant lands, carrying exciting cargo, chests of silk and pottery, jars full of wine, perfumes, and even horses. Their father's ship had sailed out carrying loads of cedar and sandalwood and bags of spices, rice, and ghee. It's been so many months, Sundari said sadly. Appa has never been away for so long. Remember that big storm last week? Basava added worriedly. The sea was full of high waves. I hope Appa's ship is safe. Look, a ship is coming, said Sundari excitedly. But I can't see the sails. As they watched eagerly, a ship appeared on the horizon. It was a small dot that slowly grew larger as it came closer. First, they saw the sails filling out with the wind. Then the high mast and the wooden bow rose into view. No, said Basava disappointed. Appa's ship has red sails with a flying eagle painted on them. This one has black and green sails. They felt disappointed and decided to go home. They had work to do. They had to help their mother at her vegetable stall in the market. Their father was often away from home, and after a while, all the money he left behind would get over. That is why their mother sold vegetables so that they had enough to eat. Sundari enjoyed working at the vegetable stall. The market was such an interesting place. Often their customers were sailors from different lands, some with pale skins and narrow tilted eyes, and some with dark skins and curly hair. They wore odd clothes and jewelry and spoke in languages Sundari could not understand at all. This morning, as Basava was laying out bundles of spinach and cabbage, one of their regular customers came to buy vegetables. She was the wife of a trader who often sent spices to other lands by ship. She knew all about the ships coming and going from Mamallapuram. As she picked through the radishes and beans, the trader's wife asked, "Any news of your father?" Sundari shook her head sadly. Why don't you go and ask at the jetty where all the ships are anchored, she said. Ask what? Basava leaned forward eagerly. Ask the sailors if they have seen your father's ship on their way to Mamallapuram. My husband does that quite often when his ships are late. That afternoon, the children headed towards the main jetty. They went through the market and took the street going towards the sea. They went past the warehouses where the merchants kept their goods meant to be loaded into ships. In one warehouse, laborers were unloading bags of pepper and coriander seeds. In another, they were stacking up bales of cotton woven in bright colors. 3 ships stood anchored at the jetty, tied to the shore by thick ropes. 2 more ships were waiting out at the sea. Small boats were moving in and out. With them, the boatmen selling everything from flowers and fruits to beads and wood carvings. Among the ships anchored at the jetty was the ship with the black and green sails that they had seen in the morning. They went towards a ship that was being loaded with goods. As they neared it, a soldier carrying a spear stopped them. "Halt! Watch! Where are you going?" the man yelled. "No one is allowed on the ship without a royal permit." "Permit?" Sundari looked puzzled. "Why?" "Because it's a royal ship, you silly girl." "You mean this ship belongs to the Royal Navy?" Basava's eyes widened in surprise. "Are we going to war?" "Of course not. This is a trading ship. His Majesty King Narasimha Varman owns many ships that trade with far-off kingdoms. This one is going to the port of Tamralipri in the north. We are looking for a ship that comes from the kingdom of Kamboja." Sundari began hesitantly. "Our father is a sailor and he sailed for Kamboja many months ago. We want to ask the sailors if they have seen his ship." "Kamboja?" the soldier asked. He then pointed to the ship with the black and green sails and said, That ship's arrived from there." Basava and Sundari ran into the ship, up the gangplank and on its deck. They stopped when they saw all that sailors on board were foreigners. They were speaking to each other in a strange tongue. "Oh no," Basava sighed. "How do we make them understand us?" "Easy," Sundari grinned. "We talk to them like Amma does when they come to buy vegetables." "Of course," Basava laughed. "We can act and make signs with our hands." They looked around, trying to spot a sailor with a friendly face. Finally, they went up to a sailor sitting on the roll of a rope. He was an old man with dark, leathery, sunburnt face. There were deep lines around his narrow eyes. He wore loose pajamas, a sleeveless jacket, bright bangles and earrings. "Kamboja?" Sundari asked nervously. The man nodded happily. "Kamboja." Basava pointed to the sail. Then he pointed to the red skirt that Sundari was wearing and said, "Ship, red sail." The man frowned and shook his head. Sundari tried to explain. She tapped on the side of the ship and said, "Ship." Then she pointed to the sails and to her skirt. "Sail, red." The man pointed to the sea and said something in his own language. "Yes, a ship with red sails. Have you seen it?" Sundari asked excitedly. The man looked a bit puzzled. "Our father, Appa." Sundari was acting out a tall man with a mustache. "Oh." The man then flapped his arms to mimic a bird flying. "Yes," the children jumped and yelled in delight. "A flying eagle is on the sail." The man was laughing as he stood up and then pulled them up by their hands to the other end of the ship. Then he pointed to the horizon where a ship was slowly sailing towards them, its red sails blowing proudly in the breeze. Basava and Sundari were speechless. There, before their eyes, were the familiar high mast, the curving prow, the red sails with flying eagles. "Your Appa is a sailor?" the man asked gently. looking at their delighted faces. Is he on that ship? Oh, the children stared at him in disbelief. You can speak our language, Sundari exclaimed. A little bit, the man laughed. I come to Mamallapuram often, but I did enjoy your acting, especially the tall man with the mustache part. Basava and Sundari taught their sailor friend many new words as they stood at the jetty, waiting happily for the ship to come home. Thank you.